to listen to that.
Are you still camping?
Yes, Michael, how are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Good to see you, man.
That's the new term for homelessness, camping.
Yeah.
I'm camping today.
Well, if it wasn't for the $1,100 a month camping rate, then you'd be right.
All right, well, I guess we'll start, eh? Where to begin? It would be easy if, yeah, you want to start, Mike? Mike, yeah? Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I think we froze for a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it said I generated a crash report. Our internet connection's unstable. So I don't know why the. Go ahead. Your
So
co-host.
how do I take over how do I take over?
You don't have to do any. You don't have to do anything. We'll just come back on again. So,
All right.
but you should be up. That should keep the room open. The recording would stop.
Okay. Well,
Can we both record?
let's start it.
Have you record. Let's have. Let's have you do the recording this time. Go ahead and hit record, and then I'll have you give it to me later. Yeah, we both record them.
All right. Yeah. Well, good evening, everybody.
Let me mute all. I'm gonna mute all, and then I'll unmute you.
Oh yeah, please.
Okay, go ahead and unmute. Yeah, have this both.
Okay.
Yes.
Switch the clouds.
Good evening, everybody. There's Mary, Yariv, Fritz. Fritz has got another background. Gary C., thank you for the donation, Gary. Susanna, Pat, always in the process of healing. The Void, George. Yes. Susanna, what happened? You got someone punched you? Yeah. We have Linda. We have a lot of little people here. Keith, nice to see you. We got Zoe. Zoe's horizontal today. He finally gave up. That's good. Deepak. Jack is camping / homelessness. Linda. Richard Trevino, one of my main men. Yeah. Nancy. Everybody else. Sonny. Nice to see you, Sonny, and Sue. Everyone. All right, so the message of non-duality is actually pretty easy, yes? Everyone could agree. So why isn't it that, it can seem to be gotten intellectually, but it doesn't seem to, let's say, spread out, yeah? There must be something going on that's causing a garbledness of the information or the message. The message must be getting diverted or redirected or claimed or something, because non-duality is just not two. So the only thing you would need to really study would be duality, yeah? And then instead of trying to arrive at some place, from some place, will be in the movement will be a negating of that someplace that causes you to want to arrive at another someplace, yeah? So it's negating that someplace that determines the direction or how you see things or the way you move. So it's a negation of that. So, and what happens is, what we seem to be right now is the act of duality, in a sense. So it's the duality itself. It's not making any effort to. It's just that duality can't swallow non-duality. Yeah, it can't understand non-duality. It can intellectually maybe understand it, but it doesn't get it because it's the act of duality. And so this is what happened with me, you know, ended up non-duality after you do a number of things, and then I felt that resonate, you know, the resonance or whatever you call it, you know, some ahas, and basically they seem to have a very short life, so I'd have to go to the next page or read another book or listen to somebody else or go to a meeting to try to capture that aha and let it extend a little more. And there seemed to be like a drag or a anti-current of the message getting through, which would seem to be I mean, in the sense of non-duality, hearing the message of non-duality really, really shows you that you're the obscuring agent, so to speak, yeah? Other ideas, they sort of align with or fit in to the subject-objectness. So, but the non-duality message really triggers that and reveals the duality. That's what's so beautiful about it. So you approach non-duality like everything else, like meditation, you know, Course in Miracles. I am going to do all these lessons, and I am going to have a shift of perception, and I am going to get out of the guilt, and I am going to go realize the atonement, that nothing ever happened, and all this and all that. But it's basically still riding the same horse, not knowing the horse is the reason why you seem to constantly be going and never arrive. So this message for me was not only hearing the non-duality, because it started to like highlight or illuminate duality. In other words, I could see it as the movement of my life, like a low tide and a high tide. For me, it was extreme. There was being an active addict and then recovering from that, yeah? And it was just constantly coming and going, getting bigger, getting smaller, feeling great, feeling da. And when I heard this message, the non-duality, that really rubbed that activity raw, so to speak. And when that activity could align with a goal or a path, then it was still hidden. I still really believed that Paul was going to arrive at the truth. I really did. I believed that Paul needed a little tinkering, maybe a purification here or there, you know, concentrate better, be more focused. But it was going to be Paul the whole time. That Paul was going to arrive somewhere, and that Paul was going to get it. And in the methodologies I was first introduced to, that matched. Like recovery is basically a lot like that. And then Buddhism would be a lot of doing. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do metta, you know, send loving, you know, vibes to everybody, and all like this, all like that. So it didn't really stop and rub that which I was taking myself to be. It didn't really like sandpaper it. But non-duality did. When I heard non-duality, I could see in a very short period of time that I was definitely, the I that I'm not, was the obscuring agent. It wasn't that something was obscuring it, or there was something in the way, or there was a couple of obstacles that had to be moved. No, I was it, in a way. I was the dilemma. I couldn't get it. There's no way, the way I am, I cannot grok this message. Yeah, because I just keep doing it the way I did everything else, and it's not working. Where the other things would look like they worked. So it basically aligned with the system that's the obscuring. And so the system thought it could become less obscure or more focused or more clear. But non-duality rubbed it a totally different way. And instead of like, okay, I need to learn another form of meditation, it was like, well, ask, who's this meditator? Who is this that needs these techniques? Who is it that keeps on going? Who is it that has to get better? Who is it that when they're sitting in the meditation hall, it waits for everyone else to leave so it feels like it's the best meditator? What's going on? And then I So while I was going to non-duality meetings, where when I used to go to other meetings, it would just go swimmingly. Yeah, I'd feel earnest, I'd feel inspired, I'd feel like a noble calling. It fit Paul perfectly. So Paul went on thinking it was going to have the experience of truth or enlightenment and awakening. But non-duality was a different beast. Non-duality immediately started rubbing me raw, like when you have a thick.
Maybe if you disable his video, he's frozen.
Yeah, you might be dropping out. Have to come back on.
Yeah, he left.
Yeah.
He tried to get back on. Pretty good run. Not get dropped. Did he drop on the game? I have to edit this more. Do your roll the tape.
Yeah, okay. You love that.
He falls in the void.
Real message, guys. Silence.
Yes.
Paul did get upgraded Wi-Fi, so I don't know why.
What happened to Paul?
What?
He gone.
What happened to Paul?
He dropped out.
Did he go to Nirvana?
He left the building.
Nevada or Nirvana?
Nirvana.
Nirvana.
I'm from Boston. You know I'm from Boston, Michael. Come on. Cut me some slack, man. Hey, man, I missed the meeting yesterday. I thought it was at 1:30, not 10:30. So I missed it.
Do you know if he got a new charger? I know he had a charger problem.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to start working in the house, so we're gonna have to move.
We could do the meeting that way. Him on the phone.
Okay, I got you on speaker, Paul. Just pick up the talk right from where you are.
I am not a performing animal. Let me see what's happening. Amelia went out. I'm gonna try to go outside.
Okay.
Tell everyone to forget everything I've said.
We'll let Mike Z take over from here. We'll let Mike Z take over. He'll be your opener. Keep him warm.
You want me to plug?
Our fault.
I'll be right there.
Right on. We're good.
Actually, really, jeez. I gotta make sure I'm muted.
And why? How come Senna? Your show muted, but how come it?
What?
I was trying to figure out why your picture's showing even though you're muted, because usually the picture shows when you're unmuted.
He's not muted.
I know, but I mean, no, she's muted right here. See, icon shows muted.
Well, you can disable my camera in the box.
No, I don't want to disable your camera. Usually, if I mute the person, then it's only the open mic that shows the person. So if you're muted, you shouldn't be showing. That's what I understand.
Zoom's losing
So
it.
okay, now you're unmuted. I'm gonna mute you again. But what's strange is that your picture is still showing. Normally the speaker shows up. Like normally I should show up, right?
Yeah. Maybe we are showing up for everybody, but only.
I think it bounces depending on who's talking.
That's what I mean, though. But you're not bouncing. You're just on. You're just. Oh, are you?
Computer likes me, I guess.
You look great, Santa. Don't worry about it.
You can hear me okay though? Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
You can pin your own video and then we'll be forced to look at you.
Don't do it.
Well, while we're waiting for Paul, I will mention that some wisdom that Nick came up with when he was telling Judith in our talk earlier that there's the Buddhist idea that there's two gifts that people don't open, life and death. We were talking about, like the idea of people avoiding impermanence and stuff like that. And then I said smartly back to him, but what about the present? Don't we, because the present is the gift, right? But then his wisdom was that, but you can't open the present. It can unfold and open, right? But the idea that there's a static presence that you can open.
You might want to unmute Paul. He's back.
Hey.
Hello?
Good. Hello. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
The presence of the present moment.
Yeah, that you can't open the present because it's an unfolding, but you can't open actual present. That's like what you're looking for. You can't find what you're looking. What's looking can't find it.
This is what happens when I go away for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
Because the present is fleeting.
Yeah.
Like Paul.
Let me go back to what I was attempting to say. Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you're getting the flow of it. Yes. There's many things I've entered that the person that should have been questioned at the door wasn't questioned. Yeah. And then that person got into that path, into that program, into that course, and basically went ahead and did what it was doing. And all the while, that act of claiming, the mental process of claiming the idea of Paul through the doing and the hearing and the feeling and the tasting was going on unbeknownst to me completely. And I was sharing the difference that happened when I got introduced to non-duality, because non-duality basically didn't give me a light to use to look for the truth. It turned on the light. It turned the light on me. Yeah. And I had a look and I saw what they were speaking of when they were saying non-duality, not two, was the two-ness that I take myself to be. See, I only picture myself as a one, but what I am is a two-ness, seemingly, an activity. So I am what's being negated, or like Ramana would say that there's the presupposing of a non-existent thing, which would be an object, yes? Being existent, which would be the subject, yes? Yeah, wants to get salvation now for the subject hybrid called Paul. If that's the case, the spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the idea of Paul. How can they destroy it? That's the message in a way. That's the first shoe you put on, yeah, and see if it fits. And then if that fits, then you're led to the idea of you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can't use mind to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. Why? Why would that be not useful?
Because you are light. You are.
It would only be seen as not useful if you are Buddha, if you are light, if you are mind. Anyone else, it would be good. Would be seen noble, trying to use light, trying to use mind, trying to use Buddha, to arrive at Buddha light and mind. It would be incredibly noble. But the fact is, we are Buddha light and mind.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that we're gonna be, or we were.
Blending,
we are. Yeah.
Always in
and
all
so,
ways.
For me, the message of non-duality immediately turns into warnings, so that how duality is expressed and hidden as a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, like a one, yeah? So the cherry on top of the
wants to be permanent, but it
cake,
cannot.
where there's the filling and then there's the cake.
To be permanent.
The cherry is there's that whole dualistic cake is called me.
What is
one,
always impermanent.
So the cherryness hides the two-ness of the activity. So now the two-ness, it's like in recovery. there's a simple statement that explains a lot, and that could save a lot of trouble and a lot of time, which is self can't get out of self. Now, a lot of people understand that intellectually, but they don't understand. They're living in that dynamic, but they call one of the selves Paul. So it's Paul. It makes total sense to Paul to get out of self. Yeah? It makes total sense for Paul to use light to find the truth. It makes total sense to Paul to use Buddhism to find the Buddha. It makes total sense to Paul to use mind to find mind, because it's all crowned as Paul. Yeah? So the duality of subject-objectness is disguised by the impression or the imagining of a single object called Paul. So now Paul is captured, the idea, the whole act of Paul is captured perfectly, which self can't get out of self. But it doesn't sink in because it's on contraire, it's Paul's getting out of self. And Paul better get out of self, and Paul can succeed in getting out of self. Or it would make Paul super, super stupid all these years trying to get out of self if he couldn't get out of self. So Paul
stupid.
Getting out of self. Paul is never going to get self, can't get out of self. You see that Paul is self, and then you get the message, self can't get out of self. Then, see, non-duality is only confusing to Paul. It's completely, it makes seamless sense. It's unbelievably clear and clean. Yeah? If you see it from what you are, if you hear it as what you are, if you hear it as what you're not, it's just fucking confusing. Yeah? And then what you're not tries to grapple with it, and it's sort of like a weird tool to what you're not, because it doesn't work too well, but it's going to try to use it as a tool to get out of shit, really. So, there's no Paul, who's an alcoholic, so I don't need to do the 12 steps of AA. And then you're fucking drunk. Call me up at 3 a.m. Incredible non-duality. So this thing rubbed, and then when the little veneer of Paul goes away, when you rub through just a little vision, you'll see the two-ness. Like, here's this little figure, and inside of it is these two pistons pumping. Yeah, object, subject, subject, object, object, subject, subject, object. It's fucking insane. So suddenly, that's what they were talking about. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's so freaking beautiful. And then the next thing you hear that seemed to be so cryptic makes complete sense. You're sitting there going, the seeker is the sword. Like one person who listened to me for years, he ran into me finally, and his whole time he thought I was saying the seeker is the sword, SWORD, because I have a thick accent. He kept wondering, what's the message? The seeker is the sword. The seeker is the sword. It was totally confusing to him until I said, no, the seeker is the sword. Yeah? This is sort of what it's like. When it's Paul hearing non-duality, it's like the seeker is the sword. So Paul's going to use the sword of seeking to cut through the fucking obscuration and then find the truth. A panoramic view of the truth with all the emphasis on me. I'm seeing the truth. I'm not the truth yet, but I'm really close. So, if something's confusing, what's reading your mail isn't you, basically. Yeah? When it gets clear you're not that, non-duality is one of the most simplest equations of all time. It doesn't give you any positive number. It just negates. It just says not two. It doesn't say one. It doesn't say anything. It's not two. Basically, it doesn't care about the other side of the equation. It's just negating the two-ness. Yeah? And it's going to be very difficult for Paul to get that.
And
Because
all
Paul
other
is
action
of
figures.
the Tunis. Yeah?
And it is the same for all action figures.
Paul is seemingly of the Tunis. The only way you can think of one is in comparing to two. Yeah? And then, oh, that's the far off one that's going to be so incredible when I meet it. It's going to be a match made in heaven where Paul meets the one. Hopefully Paul will merge into the one, but I'd much rather have the one merge into Paul. So the whole point, I don't know. I went to a few satsangs, felt something was amiss, had some downloads, saw some writings by Ramana Maharshi. He said it in all these different ways, but it was the same thing he said. It was like, and it usually was prefaced with the problem, the greatest mystery. So it had an emphasis on it. And it sort of rang true to me because I heard the idea that, oh, there is nobody. And I was going, well, if that's true, why isn't it not getting through? Yeah. There is no body. If there is no person, then the non-person, alias person, should be able to get that pretty clear.
But those are just apparent
But what happens is it's the person that he is. It's a non-person. That's what happens.
Form.
It's just like when I was chanting, I'm not a body. I was chanting, I'm not a body, all the while the chanting was reinforcing that I'm a body.
It's not permanent. It's impermanent. It's temporary. Therefore, it's both.
Thank God it was only for a couple of days. I would have been really bummed out, and I did 2 years of that. Yeah, it was a few days, and then it was seen, you know. Can you imagine chanting 2 years, you're not a body? And then finding out it was reinforcing the body for the 2 years. Oh. So the message was fine, non-duality. From that point on, it's just warnings, really. Warnings of how the duality will encompass the message of non-duality. It will use non-duality to affirm duality.
They'll try to turn it into
because
a skillful
Paul
means. Yeah.
will want to get non-duality.
They'll try to turn it into a skillful means.
Yeah. Paul is the expression of duality. Even though it thinks it's a singular, long-lasting, end thing, it has nothing to do with that. That's a fucking image that's being held in mind. It's a movement. It's a contrary, agitated movement. Conflict, aversion, desire, close, far, blah, 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 blah. You can't use that system to arrive at peace. It would just be more of the system. So that's why we do the talks. We try to keep repeating because really it's not about having a belief that you're okay just as you are. It's having a recognition,
recognizing,
and a sense felt it,
right?
Yeah,
but you're always
about what you're not.
Fine.
It's you arrive at where you already are by seeing the activities of what you're not. That's all. And they're not activities. They're activities that imply something that isn't true. When you see that, you'll find out everything. Yeah. And maybe you won't find out anything because it's not freaking necessary.
It's not necessary, precisely.
And it won't drive for more knowledge. It won't probably drive for a clearer ending or a larger awakening. It doesn't have that. Its effect is a very disarming effect. And what surrounds it quickly is acceptance, really.
Acceptance, right.
An ability to start exactly where you are. Exactly where you are.
Because you're always mixing.
Not to try to move away from it, not to try to get closer into it, but an acceptance of it. So
in always and always. Coalescing, mixing, blending with the absolutes. That's prominent. Mm-hmm. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be known.
Well, let's go. Let's start the questioning.
There we go.
Let's start the questioning.
Anybody want to raise their hands?
What are you? Precisely, your energy. You're not a whom.
Gary.
Gary,
Hey, Paul.
coming from the corner.
Yeah, I'll try to speak from the corner. Yeah, from the corner. So one of the things I notice is one of my knee-jerk reactions. I hear this stuff, I don't really get it, but I want everybody else in my life to get it. I want, I want all the people I come in contact with to understand this thoroughly, so that I'll get it from them. But it feels like it's the other way around. I'm hanging out with them, and I'm starting to learn. I guess you're right. I need to do more purification. I need to pray more, and so I come back here and get a reminder. Oh, that's the way I've been doing it my whole life, and it hasn't worked. So let me see if I can hear this again, because it does come clear sometimes. And then sometimes I was on a hike today with all the people, and the guy was praying, and I think, yeah, pray, that's good. But anyway, I feel like I fall off the horse, and I even know what I'm saying is wrong.
Not wrong.
Well,
but it's definitely not right.
I feel like.
I didn't know they combined praying with hiking now.
Well, hiking was good, but yeah, I just I don't know what to. Then I find myself struggling to, like, okay, I know I've picked up this virus or something, and I'm trying to cure myself from it, but these guys, I wish they'd all do it, so then I could remember, but I've forgotten, and I don't know how to get back to what I think I knew at one point. You know, a day or so ago, there was a clarity, and today it was muddled. So
yeah, but see, that which sensed the clarity and that which sensed the muddledness is what we are. It's not the clarity or the muddleness. It's that which is sensing it. Yeah, it's that which is aware of it. Yeah. See, the way it's set up here usually is we become, the emphasis is on what we're aware of, not on the awareness of. Yes.
Yeah.
Usually.
Subject, right.
It's
subject,
see
object.
the awareness
so
brings
trying to bring it back
everything
to a
to
subject
light,
and an object.
and then we get sort of
But
caught
neither is
up.
the case.
Whatever the head gets caught up in the appearances, yes, and runs around with them and stuff like that.
Movements,
but every appearance has been brought
an object or something.
into the light by awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Stands alone. Nothing stands
I mean,
alone.
all of it. There's no.
Mm-hmm.
You are one of those appearances.
Yeah.
Yet this appearance is saying it's the one that's seeing all the appearances.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's an appearance, yeah? But there's a field. It isn't you aware. There's awareness. You isn't. It's awareness
field.
Isn't like a mystical
it's an
lighthouse.
Field without parameters.
It's just
awareness.
Whatever
Awareness
it is.
Every-awareness.
I don't know what it is.
Awareness
but
is
I know
every-awareness.
it's not location, nor is it
not in a fixed position.
A thing.
Space and time.
Yeah. Nor does it come or go.
Yeah.
Nor does it seem to make any effort or thought to be aware.
Awareness.
Nor it doesn't seem to discriminate what it's aware of.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to have any other activity, other than being aware. Yeah. And
Aware to be
it's
aware.
probably brought
Awareness
a lot
seen.
of things into awareness,
Awareness
and yet
seen.
everything that has appeared in the awareness
Constant
hasn't left
awareness
the mark on the awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the language doesn't want us to start there. So the language says, "Oh, I was the one." Very casually, I was muddled, and just those 2 hours before I was clear. See, but see that is another appearance masquerading as the one. Yeah. That's all, and it's going to continue to do that. That's the system. But you don't have to have such a. The investment in it will be changed. Let's put it that way. Yeah. There'll be a shifting of interest and attention, and just maybe, some of the interest and some of the attention will be on the awareness, which is not an experience. The experience of a thing with another thing is allowed by awareness, but awareness is not an experience, so it's not going to be you that's aware of awareness. There'll just be awareness, yeah. And you'll see the appearances are occurring in this giant context of awareness. There's no conflict or argument, nothing. There's just what is.
There's just appearances, just
and
what
maybe
is.
You'll get a sense of starting
The
from there, from the
yes.
awareness, not from the appearance that claims to be seeing all the other appearances. Maybe you'll get a sense. You've had senses of it already, yeah. And so that sense of that isn't something that the appearance is remembering and forgetting. It isn't. That awareness can't be remembered because it's never gone, and it doesn't need to be, and it can't be forgotten because it always is. Yeah. So you can't give the attributes of an appearance to it. Yes. And that's what we're doing, especially with the language.
Yeah.
We're trying to
extend
to talk about awareness like everything
appearance.
else.
But you cannot extend a
clear and
permanent
then
appearance.
unclear. It gets
Nobody
caught up
can,
in things it doesn't.
because nobody's
It doesn't
part
do
of
any
anything
of that.
permanent.
It's just a giant field of awareness. Whatever comes in goes out. Da, da, da. No one's. There's no locked doors or no gatekeepers, no tolls.
Nobody's standing
I was
alone.
aware of the worst day of my life, and I was aware of the best day of my life. Yeah, I would have rather not been aware of the worst day of my life, but I don't have any volition. Basically,
And it's not even a life.
I
It's
don't.
my own.
Now I believe I have free will.
There's just life.
But in fact, my experience, at least in this area, about the seeing, and actually beyond that, the awareness of the seeing, feeling, tasting, touching, I don't seem to have much volition about it at all.
Therefore, it's not my
so
life.
basically,
it's not your life. It's
something
not
is on completely,
it appears
and
as
yet
though
I play a role of thinking I can be on
there's
and
a
off.
storyline there.
And
Story
therefore,
body mind.
of course, I can be on and off.
That's its
Certain
own
things
life.
scare me because they could make me off, and other things I desire because they'll make me on. And we're swimming in this dualistic little muddled interpretation. We're not. The head is. And yet, all the while, what we are hasn't been moved or it's untouched. I would just like a little of that brought into the content. You're not going to find it as a product in the content. It can be an influence in the content. Yeah, because like Jesus says, you're in the content, but you're not of the content. Let's say
there you go. That's the one.
I'm using it.
Right there.
You're in the content, but
man,
you're not
if
the
that
content.
don't Zen pitch slap you, nothing else will.
So let's just
you should have got
be
Zen
clear
pitch
in that.
slap
So
right there.
if Gary feels he needs to pray while he's hiking,
All the way
out,
across.
who cares? Yeah, because you're not that. Yeah. So there's a lot. Just man.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, you would have your story if you vacuumed 97% of the interest off it. The story would still be going on. Yeah. It would be muted quite a lot. You'd forget it like that. You would live as if this was more like a mural than single photo shots. Yeah. All of these feelings would start becoming very vague but dominant. You'll feel like, when does Monday stop and Tuesday start? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
It just seems like this one long event, like with no exhale. Just an exhale, no inhale, exhale, just on. these things start coming into your system, and they go into the fissures and they crack the system apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets put back together again, but now you're not the ghost in the machine anymore. You're the ghost, and there's an appearance of a machine in it. There's no ghost in the machine. We're the ghost, and there's an appearance of a machine in it. Yeah, that's all. It's a simple correction.
Yeah.
See how it works?
So many ways to say this.
You can't map out a way to be led back to where you never left. So we're just attempting to, question the assumptions and the presumptions and the insinuations and the insidiousness of the yapping.
Yeah.
There's something going on that most of us aren't aware of. That's all. Yeah. And it's not because of a lack of awareness. There's no lack of awareness. Yeah?
Yeah, it's impossible.
So we're trying to become conscious of something that its
its
whole drive and you as its
consciousness
emblem
does.
is to be unconscious of something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
So
You're trying to use
awareness.
You're trying to
awareness
hurt
seeing
cats, It doesn't
at all times.
It doesn't
in all
work.
spaces, in all times.
Work. So it happens. You
With
see
no
yourself
beginning and
from
no
a
end.
different field. Yeah, you see the activity that's implying Paul,
Constant
and there's no
movement,
Paul
energies.
that's there. Yeah, it's all made up.
Mm.
Yeah, and therefore you can have fun with it. Fuck it.
Hell yeah!
I mean,
have
you
fun
enjoy
with
it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, don't
to
take
me,
it.
really.
Don't take it too
When
serious.
I was
yeah.
believing this shit, it was
Don't
like
have to.
CNN headlines every second. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
fucked. I was fucked. I'm never gonna be loved. Constantly, the same material's moving through,
Yeah.
but it's like Comedy Central. What happened?
Nothing.
The
That
information didn't really change. What's collating it?
It was
did.
running its
Hell
own movie.
Has
Yeah.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm very clear. I could not bring that about, but I, as Paul, can observe it. Yeah, definitely. I've noticed it. I've noticed things have happened that I have have no idea how they came about, and I definitely know I had nothing to do with it. But there has been change. Yeah. So there you go. Go back to the corner, Gary. I'm right in the other corner. You just don't look there. I'm right there. Yes.
Thanks, Paul.
No.
Thanks, Gary. Jack.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Jack. How are you?
Oops, I think I muted you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Are you there, Jack?
Yeah, I just had a quick statement and then a somewhat of a question. I just wanted you to know that I've definitely gotten relief from the teachings, and I really appreciate that. And I can see a lot of people in recovery benefiting. So.
Great.
Yeah. And I've been letting people know that people I know that are in recovery. And so, yeah, really awesome. And I really appreciate it. I guess the only question would be is like, I've done a lot of practice and a lot of study, and, I've done the meditation retreats, and I feel like I've gotten
nowhere
to the same point.
You're not
that
gonna
you
get anywhere
described, where
with all that stuff.
it's like enough
Because
fucking
nobody
writing,
ever
enough
got
studying,
anywhere with that.
enough sitting.
Nobody ever gets anywhere
And,
with that. It's not necessary. It never
that,
was.
That Zen saying keeps popping in my head: when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
That's a
and
theosophical.
I kind of feel like that's happened.
It's a theosophical statement.
But I guess the only question would be: is would you think that it was part of getting to this understanding of non-duality, that a lot of that other stuff had to take place first? A lot of that study, meditation, whatever it was. It's like you couldn't become a recovering alcoholic unless you had drank, right?
Yes.
that's kind of the way I'm thinking about as far as the study and stuff goes. I mean, I
Skip
don't
that.
feel. Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I said I wish I would have skipped that point.
Right,
Just become a recovering alcoholic.
Exactly, and I feel the same way about all this. I wish I could have just gone to a non-duality class and gotten it in one day before I did everything else. But I did it. But I did everything else, you know. So here I am. But
yeah. Well, let me just say, Jack. Let me say it because this comes up a lot. You know, it doesn't really matter. So, in one level, let's say there's time going on, and in time, yes, in time,
it used to be really good for that action figure
going on. There's cause and effect. There's all this stuff,
right.
And so that's like a dreaming. So the dreaming in time goes a certain way. So therefore, what happens leads to what's going to happen, and so on and so forth. It makes sense, yes. For me to become a recovered alcoholic, I had to be an addict alcoholic. Yes, right. So no, I wish it wasn't as long as it had been, but yes, all right. But then there's also the idea of, well, I don't like to use timelessness, but let's say not of time, and in that, everything is happening all at once. Let's say, yes, yeah. So in a weird thing, you look like you're in time and you're moving, but then when a certain when this like when something hit me very strongly, it told me it had always been this way. Yeah. So when something that didn't seem to be obvious a second before became obvious, part of its becoming obvious says that it always has been obvious. You know what I mean? So it negated the whole story in time. But I think, I think you can wear it both ways or neither. So because we have this a lot of people say, well, if you hadn't done that, this could have happened. Yes, from that point of view, that's true. But in this case, when you arrive at the goal, it tells you you never left. So did all that stuff ever really bring you to where you never left? Yeah, so it's a tricky one. It just matters. All right, you look at it one way, let's say with time glasses, you see it like my friend used to be a drawer, and he'd draw the things, and you had a notebook of paper, and then you go like this, and it'd be a living little movie, yeah? But each frame, each page was a different, and then he went, and it was like a movie. So there. So in time, it looks like that. In timelessness, it's like nothing ever happened. And I think they both are right in a way. It just matters in the content, one is right, in the context, the other's right. Yeah? So the content is totally accepted in the context. So yeah, you have a story, and then the goal of the story tells you you didn't have a story. So yeah. I mean, it's like getting two out of for the price of one. It's great, really. So you have your story that you did this, and then it gives a lot of failed shit meaning because look at that failure led to this. Yeah, so it's a nice way of looking at things. Yeah, and the Course in Miracles captures it as you and I are dreaming this dream. Well, I don't like the word dream, but you and I are dreaming this dreaming, and we're gonna dream ourselves out of this dreaming. So going to programs, meditating, all like that. And as we do, when we're in this act in time of dreaming ourselves out of the dream of time, when we're doing that, the dream's going to get happier also. So now you've reached a turn in the dreaming, which is happier, which is you don't have to do shit. It's a lot nicer than doing all that stuff. So it's working. The dream's getting happier. You can camp. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And it's okay. Yes. Camping is okay.
That's beautiful.
Hiking is okay with prayer or without prayer. Prayer does not make hiking okay.
Yeah.
Hiking's okay.
There's the
And if
activity
you want to
of
have some
hiking.
prayer, far out.
Yeah, there's the activities going on. Yeah.
Doing nothing is fine. Doing nothing is they used to talk about the speed of mind, mind, incredibly speedy. So Ramana alluded to it once. You see this guy sitting there, he looks like he's doing nothing, but he's doing unbelievable. His mind is rotating at such a speed. I mean, the mind, So it looks like he's doing nothing, but a whole lot of shit's happening, All right, Jack, go back to the camp.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, you're welcome, bro. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
We got you camping. We got Gary in the corner. We got George in the void. We got, I think, Zoe in the bed. Oh, James is out cold. He moved.
Got her hand up.
Thanks again, Paul. Appreciate you so much. Really, I'm kind of grateful that the virus gave me this opportunity to participate live with you. So I've been thinking about names and naming. So tonight you were talking about subject, object, and so I don't think there is such a thing as an object that doesn't have a name. So, for example, if astronomers find some new star they didn't know was there, the first thing they do, they give it a name, right? So I feel like the names are very confining. So you can look up your name. What does your name mean? How does your name define you as an object? So Paul probably is a name that comes from the Bible, right? And Patricia, I looked up, sort of means a noble person, like whatever. But it makes me think of, like, in the Bible, there's actually two accounts of creation, Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, and they're they were done historically at incredibly different times, but because they're both creation accounts, apparently they were lumped together. And Genesis 1 is the non-duality account, and Genesis 2 is the duality account. So in Genesis 1, it's God says, God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. So that's sort of the biblical non-duality account. And then Genesis 2, now we're getting to God taking dust from the earth and creating it into a man named Adam. The name appears. And then in Genesis 2, God creates all the birds and the beasts and everything, and God brings them to Adam to see what Adam would name them. And whatever name he gave them, that was the name. And then the woman was named Eve. So I really appreciate when you are delivering the message and you're talking about Paul. So, I mean, it's like, I just think part of, for me, my awareness is like the awareness of the name and the limitation of the name, and the name is associated with an object, and I am not that. I am not.
Great. Yeah.
Does that make sense somehow?
Yeah, makes total sense to you, eh?
To me.
Maybe there you go. That's what's important. I liked it. I hadn't heard. To me, the Genesis thing, when they're in the Garden of Eden, I guess the tree of knowledge was good and evil, right? That's duality. So they took a bite of that, and then they started to see differences instead of the similarity. And then in Hinduism, they talk about consciousness, and then consciousness
took on forms.
One of the
took on forms, Shiva.
The consciousness itself,
and then there's
gets obscured
Maya.
by giving name and to form.
That's Maya.
Yeah.
That's
so name and form. So everything is now
causing these forms
given
to
a name
appear as
and a
they do,
form.
which
And this is
the
how we
illusion.
see things perceptually
Yeah,
and stuff.
it's
And
the-
they're all.
And then they're all
It's
illusory.
a programming.
Yeah, they're illusion.
Yeah, and that
Maya.
programming can't get out of itself.
No.
Yes.
No.
And so you have to sort of have a negation or a questioning of the program from outside the program. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the program can be turned against itself, and that's the who am I. So the who am I is what you're not asking, what you're not, who is it? Yeah. So who am I? The Paul goes, who am I? And then the other Paul, the other one answers, me. Yeah. And so now there's a dialogue between the two imaginary poles, and there's a negation of that. So the who am I, the answer isn't an answer because it's never left. It's not beckoned by a question. There's just a negation of the one who's asking the who am I and the one that thinks is responding to the who am I. Yeah, bingo. And so there's a negation there. And so basically the two is never going to arrive at, let's say, the mythical one. It's a negation of the two, and then something is revealed. And when it's revealed, it's captioned in a lot of cryptic manner by saying, upon arriving on the other shore and having never left, the seeker is the sword. They try to say it in a lot of ways, but what they're basically implying is you are that, yeah? But you can't say you are that to what you're not. So the what you're not needs to negate itself because there's a two-sided coin. So see, this is what happens in recovery. Recovery, people come into recovery and basically they didn't know what was going on. They was getting hit from left field, right field. They were totally on a consequential level. They knew something was going to happen after it happened. There was no foreknowledge, no understanding. So then they get whacked and they come into a program of recovery. And then they start getting a glimpse by seeing their role in things. They get a glimpse of what they may call self. And they now get a sense, that's what's driving me crazy. It was self that fucked me up, And so now it's like a big awakening in a weird way, but it's a dualistic awakening. Yeah. So that which is being seen as self is being presented as the seer of the self, which is both, yeah? So now the first one is seen, the self, but the other self, called Paul, isn't noticed, yeah? So basically, you're in the two-ness. So now it's even worse because now you have knowledge of it a little bit and you're wondering why you're still in the fucking rinse cycle and the tumble dry cycle. I know I'm not that. Why isn't there relief from it? Because you're knowing that as that, yeah? You don't see, you're caught in the bigger net. Self can't get out of self. So this is why we talk about apertures opening, yeah? So first, now you see some aspect. You're still maybe calling it you or something like an ego, and that's the culprit. That's what's been fucking Paul up, yeah? So first it was the drinking and the drugs, but that's seen so clearly not the case when you get sober because what you used to think, the behavior you exhibited when you were on cocaine, you thought was produced by cocaine use. You stopped using cocaine and you're still demonstrating the same behavior. So that it wasn't because of the cocaine. So now you get to see an underlying cause and condition you had no idea of. No, yeah. So now the aperture opens up. So you see self, but you don't realize that it's claiming to be the seer of self. So the bondage is in place, yet you expect to have relief that you would think would come from seeing what you're not and knowing that that's what was destroying my life. Yet there still isn't peace or joy because you don't recognize it. You're not recognizing that which is saying it's seeing self is selfing. Yeah. So, all right, so now hopefully the aperture opens. You catch the second one. Wow, it's dressed up as a policeman. The other one is dressed up as a thief. You recognize they're the same. Yeah? There's no difference between the thief and the policeman. They're both self. All right, now what happens? You go further. Aperture opens up, and then you see it dawning on, let's say, an Italian Interpol jacket or a fucking Policia from France, but it's the same. So now you recognize it maybe 5 or 6 times, and then there's a critical leap. You get it. You realize it. You get duality. You see it. Yeah. There is there's no self, period. There's a presentation of self as the bad self and the critic, the policeman, the thief. It's all these little role maneuvers. It's the same. You're now onto it. Yeah? Now the cryptic statements make complete sense because the obscuring has been seen through sufficiently. The message is super clear. Super clear. It's totally futile to try to get it as this. It's completely futile. Completely. The only thing he can show you is that it's futile. So hopefully we've had enough of that and we've known it's futile. Yeah? It shouldn't come up for review every 6 months. Maybe it'll work now. No, it's dead. So now, whoa, that's incredible. Now you're convinced of that, and you're open to get reviewed and edited and changed, that which can be changed and reviewed and edited. And it's coming from that which never changes, has no review, and never edits. Yeah? And so suddenly, the relief you are hoping to get in this place comes not from in the place, but from of what you are. So you travel lighter not because you have 800 super techniques. You don't have any technique. You've lost interest in Paul traveling lighter.
Right.
That's
They're
traveling
not
lighter
necessary.
as Paul.
You don't have to add anything
You've lost
to what
interest
already
in Paul
is.
traveling lighter.
Right.
It's not the dominant fucking journey.
Mm-hmm.
You're just in acceptance of what's happening. Yeah? And you notice over time that you travel lighter through a lot of shit. And then you go to yourself as Paul, what more do you want? And humility comes over him.
Indeed.
Yeah? Because he knows it didn't produce it, but it sure has experienced it and has observed it. So it's in a state of humility. It's right size.
Yeah.
This is what we're on to here. Yeah? Everyone calls me up when they catch the thief. They're not catching the policeman. Yes?
Yeah.
They're calling me up. Oh, I caught the thief. But they're not seeing the policeman. Yeah? That's it, eh, Pat? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. Fritz, and then Keith will have a comment, question.
Fritz, yes.
Yeah. Hello there. So something you said kind of caught my ear. It resonated with me because it's something I experienced at one point in all this. And in the initial awakening experience that lasted for some time, what I saw was, and nobody had told me, so I knew it wasn't a concept, that all this that I'd seen had always been the case, not only for me, but for everybody. And then, after some time, the initial experience faded, or that was the perception. And yet there's still the memory of that always being true. So in a way, it's a little confusing because, part of me knows that it always has been. And then somehow my attention gets drawn away from that. So I don't even know. I'm not necessarily even complaining about it, just observing it. You know, it's kind of annoying, but it's where I am right now.
Well, remember, it's not a memory because that's always so. So it's just more of an echo in a way. It's not a memory. It's still vibrating. It's not like, oh, it was like that, as if it isn't now. So just to be clear about that. Yeah, sometimes what happens is you get those free samples, and then, first there is no mountain, then there's the mountain again. Yeah. But thank God you're not buying hiking boots anymore. Yeah?
No shit.
Yeah. Hey, if the mountain appears, it can definitely disappear. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you lose interest in watching to see if it disappears. Yeah. Yeah. So I love that thing, the Zen thing, but I like to put something before it, which is it goes first. There's the mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is the mountain. Yeah, but I believe first there is no mountain, then there's a mountain, then there's no mountain, and then there's a mountain. But that which allows a traveling light when the mountain appears again is the first. There is no mountain. Yeah, yeah. If not, then you thought there was a mountain and it disappeared and it's come back. That sucks. That doesn't promote an ease and comfort. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
So, but with the knowledge, that there's never been a mountain, it brings a levity or a lightness to the appearance of the mountain. Yes.
Yeah. So it's important.
So that is that
knowledge.
Memory, that's the echo. The echo of there is no mountain is being felt. Yeah.
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 I like the idea that you're setting the initial condition and acknowledging the initial condition of starting with no mountain.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because if not, then there's the hope for there to be no mountain. And then you're going to be totally bummed out when the mountain appears again. And you'll write a self-centered story blaming yourself for some fucking reason. That the reason why the mountain appeared is you did this or didn't do that. Yeah? Not knowing that you're the mountain. That's the mountain.
In there, done that, got the t-shirt going.
Yeah. You're all right, Fritz. You're, incessant joy may not be the experience here. Just an open, very open awareness isn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So really, that's all I got right now. Unless you have more to say about it,
All right, Fritz. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm simpatico with you. I'm simpatico. Yeah. It's good to see you. I really enjoyed. Didn't I run with you in LA a few times, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You're very. You're way more okay than you think, Fritz. Yeah, really.
Caught that.
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah, it's very pleasant. So,
take care, bro.
I'll see you, Fritz. Yeah.
Thanks, Fritz.
I'll see you. You never go anywhere, Fritz. That's good. That's a good clock. Yeah. All right.
And
Mike. Yep.
Yeah, and Keith wants to when the space is open, but we've got Drew next. I guess that means.
Oh, Drew. Drew's representing that.
Represent? Dependency on people, places, things for self-esteem, status, maybe in the context of Bill's article, emotional sobriety versus the dependency on the higher power for everything. If you want to talk about it, or
what was that?
just kind of,
I didn't hear the beginning.
just dependency on people, places.
Yeah.
It's just the dependency on people, places, things for self-esteem, status versus dependency on higher power. In like Phil's article, emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
He talked about that. If you want to, take it any direction. Thanks.
You're welcome. Nice to see you. Well, to me, the emotional sobriety would be rooted in relying on something that's reliable, first of all. Yes? People, places, and things aren't reliable because we're always under change. Yes? So we could be reliable and we may not. And like we say in AA, thank God we're not all insane at the same time. Somebody's here at the house. Yeah? So the reliance on something greater than yourself. Wait a minute. The reliance on something greater than yourself delivers the good and takes away those needs that we look for others to fulfill that they're incapable of doing. Yeah? It's sort of like putting a ton of weight in a half-ton pickup. The pickup just can't take it. Someone can't be a higher power to me. Yes, you know what I mean. I can't make some. We have that experience quite a lot in recovery when someone comes into AA and then they meet a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they make the girlfriend or the boyfriend the higher power. Yeah. And this doesn't usually lead to emotional sobriety. It leads to stalking and getting arrested and going out and getting drunk. So to me, the reliance, like Ramana Maharshi, in one of the things I read about his teachings, he said a very interesting statement. I'm going to screw it up a little bit, but it would fit in perfectly into the AA Big Book. And he basically said, listen, there's two ways. Either you get to the origin of your misery, through self-inquiry, or you realize you're outmatched and you surrender to a higher power. Yeah. And basically the basic offering in recovery is surrender. Yeah. We're going to surrender and we're going to give those needs and those wants over to something greater than ourselves instead of relying or depending on other people to fulfill those needs and wants. Yeah. Because they're incapable of doing it. And we're putting way too much on them, on situations. It's just, even on you're going to get old and shit like that. So that's the feeling. In my case, that had a lot of life, that idea of turning one's will and life over to the care of something greater. I had a real feeling around that because I had surrendered in life, or I was surrendered to the police many times, but I'd surrendered to a program for 2 years. And I had to begrudgingly admit when I left that program, my life looked better with them running it than it ever did with me running it. So the action figure Paul is perfectly suited to the surrender, the turning one's wills and life over to the care of a higher power. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Oh man, how humbling is that? That's so damn humbling.
All right, Keith.
Hey there, can you hear me, Paul?
Where's Keith? I can.
Can you hear? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, Keith.
Yes.
Good, I'm outside.
Yes.
So Fritz began by saying that something you had said stuck with him. And I want to begin by saying something you didn't say stuck with me. For me, the high point of this evening's talk was when you disappeared. when that 2-minute period when you were gone.
I concur completely.
Yeah, but it wasn't the whole 2 minutes. The first 10 seconds. That which, how do I put it? That which never departs itself from itself, which is this, was immediately obvious, right? For 10 seconds, particularly, because nobody said a word. And then 11 and 12, 13 seconds, people began to get nervous and say things to fill the space. And that's fine too, because that which never departs from itself is present even when that happens. But for me, there was a period of silence there, a free sample, a pause. And it was because you were gone and then you came back. But that's what I want to point to. This is what you point to all the time. This never departs from itself, no matter what state it presents itself at. I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm lost, I'm broke. This, which is what I am and what you are, never departs itself. But we always start somewhere in the story where we've forgotten that we are that. So anyway, thanks for disappearing, Paul. I didn't realize this.
No. Hey, thank you. My disappearances may get longer.
Please. Yes. I was going to say, don't be a stranger, but please be a stranger more often. That would be a good thing. Thank you, Paul.
Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I appreciate you. Yes. All right, guys. This is Brahmi. Brahmi, are you going swimming, Brahmi?
Paul, the monsoon is just kind of started now, so the flow is a bit muddy, dirty, and pretty strong. So not so much.
Yeah. Watch out. Yeah. Okay. That's all right. I'm still living off of the last one.
Excellent. Next time it's not going to sweep us both away. I'll jump in there again for you.
All right, good. Yes, good. All right, honey. Yes, let's who else there? Isn't this a wonderful event, really? It's a very nice crazy thing to do on Wednesday nights. Yeah?
Well, any night, really.
Talk about nothing.
Yeah.
I think it's over, maybe. Hold on. What time did we start? 7?
Yes.
Any more questions, Nick and Mike?
No, I don't see any.
Judith, you okay there? Judith, well? Good. We got Sandra.
I am Paul. Hold on a second. I want to show you my idea of non-duality. Once again, I'm tangled here. Oh, hold on.
Idea of non-duality, I'm tangled.
That's a good one. It's okay, girl.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I was just repeating Judith that her idea. She wanted to show you her idea of non-duality. I'm tangled again.
Again. Do you see that?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's great.
So I didn't quite finish that one, but
wow.
It says, in the story of creation, it says that right in the beginning, it says that God put Adam to sleep. So this is the dreaming. So it never happened. The snake never happened. Nothing ever happened because he sleep. In the whole story of creation, it doesn't say, and when he woke up, how can he say he went to sleep, but then woke up? Funny, huh? So non-duality never happened. It's very good. That's my interpretation. That's my reminder of non-duality.
Oh, that's good.
After
honey.
meeting
Yes.
you, I did that. But I had to get
Wow.
untangled before I could show it to you. I
People
appreciate
do a
you
lot
so
of
much,
different
Paul.
things after meeting me.
Well, yeah, for
After
sure.
meeting me, they never meet me again.
Oh well.
Thank you, Judith. We're so happy to have you in a little. You're in your little square.
Thanks, Judith. Hey, Paul. You got one more? Oh, you got.
Yeah.
I'm ever so grateful.
Hey, Nasser, do you want to come on and ask the question, or did you just want me to read it? If you don't pop on, I'll read it.
Hey, Paul, before it keeps going, I got the seat assignments calling me, so I want to say goodbye. Thank you for the best show in non-duality. And tell Amelia to call me if you guys go to Berkeley, because I know you won't. So. All right. Love you guys.
All right. Remember. Take care.
Ignacio, I'll just read it because you're not coming on. Oh, no, he has no cam, he says. Anyway, he said, let me see, where did it go? Can you explain more the relation between being in the now and that there is no doer?
And now, Paul.
Well, this thing of being in the now, that's the basic. That's it. Yeah, it's not like you're being in the now. There's being in the now. That's it. Yeah. I mean, it's like
therefore.
It's a perpetual state, being in the now.
Yeah. Therefore, there never was a doer.
The idea of the doer.
Yeah. Just an idea of a doer. It's all.
Just tell me which comes first.
Yeah.
Does the doing come first, and then the doer appears, or is there a doer all the time, and then there's doing? Yeah. The doer is extracted out of the claiming of the doing.
As a subject.
Yeah? It's a noun that gets, it's like an immaculate conception of the verb, and a noun appears. Yeah. So, but this being in the now, no one is not being in the now. I mean, obviously. So, it's sort of like when you're in recovery, when a lot of people get recovered, they think they should get medals for not fucking people over.
Is that which has no beginning and no end.
They're becoming normal citizens, but they think they should have a parade.
Another way to say
it's been such a
being in the now,
such a sacrifice for
always.
Them. It's incredible,
always.
but
it's another way
being in the
that.
now is basically the perpetual state,
perpetual,
and the idea
always,
of doer
always.
is just that. It comes from the claiming of
separately
doing.
So and not so.
Yeah.
Ad infinitum. Yeah. That's the being.
And the language speaks of the language places the doer before the doing.
Yeah.
That's the trick of language. It places which comes after to be before. And so we speak as if we're a noun, and as if we're the doer, the seer, the hearer, the feeler, the taster, the touching. And in the obsession with that, we lose the sense of seeing, hearing, feeling, touching, tasting, doing this and that. We lose this. We lose the livingness of life. Well, just like we used to use the example of the river, Colorado River.
Riverine.
I get a glass and I scoop out a glass of
the essence
Colorado
of
River,
life,
and I think I have the Colorado River.
Yes.
But I miss its most important essence, which is the rivering. Yeah? It's just a stagnant glass of water.
Right.
But the rivering is what gives it the meaning it has. So, yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
See, the idea of getting into the now is based on an insane idea that you could be out of the now. That's the insanity. So we're not looking for another methodology to convince ourselves we're in the now. We're just negating the insane idea that you could be out of the now.
Yeah, we're just recognizing that it's always now. Always, always. Different ways pointing to that.
I mean, it's like, how can you, you know, we're expecting like a welcome home parade on having never left. Yeah. I mean, it's just, It's just dog shit awareness. You're just on, completely on. Yeah. We're awake. You can seem to be asleep to that fact, change the fact. The joy here is to be awake to that fact. That's all. But you can seem to be asleep or you can seem to be awake, but it doesn't change the fact. You can believe, you can think you're in the now, but it doesn't change the fact there is only in the now. It doesn't, all your there and thens or hypotheses and possibilities are all contained in now. Yesterday and tomorrow is now. It all is. So, yeah, I hope that wasn't helpful. So.
Thanks, Ignacio. Linda is up.
We're going to do one more, Linda?
Yes, Paul, I really don't have a question. I just wanted to say these Wednesday nights have been great. I've been following you for a couple of years, and without even being able to explain it, I do travel lighter, and then I go back to getting all tangled up in my stories. And today I just had a really crappy day, and I thought, oh, I'm even going to skip tonight. And I thought, no, I need to get on tonight. And a lot of the points you made were just so enlightening, for lack of a better word, and the people sharing, it's incredible. I've had a tremendous shift in the past hour and a half. So thank you so much, and thank you to everyone.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Yes. Thank you, Linda. We appreciate your being here. Yes.
Thank
you.
I
have a fondness for all the squares.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so let's end, bro.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for setting all this stuff up. And sorry for the, but obviously it was put to good use, my disappearance. So.
Yes. Thank you, Pause.
Yeah. Don't get any ideas, though. None of you get any ideas.
Don't you get any ideas.
All right, so Judith, George, Dennis, Kelly. I can't barely see you, Kelly. Nice to see you. Pat.
Hi.
Sandra Spasic. Nice to see you, Sandra. I think it's Sandra, yeah. Let's see who else is left. Gary, he's out of the corner. That's where all trouble starts. Out of the corner. Fritz, nice to see you. Jack.